everybody.
Got a bagel.
It's us. We're
Not
here.
again. Not the bagel.
Maz has a bagel.
If anyone knows what I'm quoting, put it in chat.
I mean, yes,
Not you,
we
Aaron.
already know. You've
Shut
already
up.
made the joke. We know
You
what
already
it is.
you already did that joke.
It's not funny anymore. I just woke up like 30 minutes ago.
Grant's currently heading for TPD, but he's not on call with us.
Yeah, well, a classic Grant. We don't.
He doesn't like us.
We're
mean to him.
I need to say the thing that we do. No, I'm mean to him. You guys are fine. This is Table Scraps. We are the Paper Dungeon. We stream on Mondays with a Dungeons & Dragons campaign, 5th edition. That's what we do. Normally, yes, I can turn up the desktop audio. Grant, you disgust me. Good old Streamlabs, once again ruining my... It resets my settings every time.
Well, Aaron's figuring that out. I have an Oreo Cakester, which is a throwback to childhood. It's awesome.
Nerd.
You forgot we streamed today?
Can we just add him to the call real quick, just to
I am
harass
so
him?
tempted to time him out for 2 minutes. Yeah, we played Dungeons & Dragons. Normally we talk about it here, and we talk about the previous session, but we didn't do. We did another Table Scraps this past Monday instead.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what to do here. But I do know that I have some contractual obligations that I have to announce beforehand.
You do.
Such as we have social media and things like that you can be a part of. And it's awesome. We have a TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Wow, no one's gosh dang sending the things already?
I was gonna let Maz do it, but Maz isn't fine. Maz is slacking today. All right.
TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. We also have a Discord that you can be a part of, and it's really awesome, and I think that you should join because it's cool, and I think it's fun there, and you should do that. We have a website where you can buy our merch as well. You can get things like cool hats and stuff that have our logo and things, and all of it was designed by Lydia. Speaking of Lydia, Lydia has her own store. It's not an excuse, Maz. It's not an excuse. Get your mom on. Get your mom on Twitch. Gosh dang, get her over here. Get her watching the Paper Dungeon. Yeah, we have merch and stuff. You can buy that. Lydia also sells merch on her own store. Is it back up yet?
I'm not plugging it because it's not back up yet.
Well, I'm gonna plug it anyway.
Aaron,
just so you
you're
know.
gonna be really sad.
What?
Oh yeah, you are gonna be really sad.
So hardcover.
What?
They're not gonna happen anymore.
And you know what she replaced them with?
Pillows are gonna happen.
Soft pillows, Aaron.
I have a pillow bed.
I sleep on the floor.
I know how much you love pillows.
Exactly, it'll make your world so much better.
It makes it so much worse. Where else am I gonna? I was gonna buy 30 gosh dang hardcover notebooks.
I mean,
over time.
technically, I can still make them for you.
It's fine. I'll just cry in my corner.
All right, that's fine.
She sells things. She sells pillows now.
Pillows.
This is one of a kind. You'll never get it again. Be sad. You should be.
You know what you should do, Aaron? You should have Lydia sign that, and then it'll be worth lots of money.
It's not worth it. Not anymore. Other than that, website, if you would like to support us, you can in multiple different ways. The easiest of which is you can just tell your friends, and like Maz, you could tell your mom to watch us on Twitch and stuff like that. That would be cool.
What's up, Maz's mom?
If you want to support us more monetarily, obviously you can subscribe. That's a thing that we have. As Grant just said, we hit some number of followers, and that's cool.
600.
600, yeah.
Woo! Thank you so much.
Follow, subscribe. If you have that Twitch Prime subscription, that's pretty juicy, and we would love to be the Twitch Prime people of your dreams. But we also have a Ko-Fi and a Patreon. Those are cool things, and we have kind of streamlined the whole Patreon process. That's what Grant did recently. And so now there's just one tier at $5, I think, and it gets you all the content that we put on there. It'll be slow going. We've got a lot of stuff going on, but eventually we will add more stuff in there, and we hope to get it kind of regular at some point in time in the future. I think for the most part that's all of my plugs at the start. I think
so.
I think so. I'm out of commands.
So now we can just end the stream because
sounds good.
That's everything we're
all
gonna
done.
do
We
tonight.
did it.
It was great having everyone.
There was one question specifically that was given to us
Yes.
in Discord, so I feel like we do have to answer.
I mean, yeah.
Maz wants our opinions on creating balanced encounters for the players as DMs. And Maz, I was just telling Lydia that I apologize in advance because my answer is incredibly simple and very straightforward and might not be satisfying. But really, in my opinion, the key to having balanced encounters as a DM is just being flexible as a DM. You can kind of send, as long as you kind of... So here's what I do. I usually will start with the suggested balanced encounter table that you get in the DMG, but that's not always super accurate. But the longer you go, the more you'll kind of just get a feel for what level of encounter or what CR really your players can really take on. And so right now, basically around CR 17 and 18, maybe even up to 19 or 20, depending on some of the outside factors, is what the party can take on, what Fate's Gambit can take on. And they do it pretty solidly. I never really have to worry about anything going terribly wrong. But the cool thing is, as long as you're flexible as a DM, you can always be making adjustments during the encounter. And so if you start the encounter and you have a player like freaking Aaron who does 150 damage in the first round, you can go, okay.
It was the second round. It was the second round.
Okay, I'm sorry. The second round, after he paralyzed the orc the first time, so it really was all the same round.
It's fine.
But
it's fine.
If you have that sort of thing happen and you want the fight to go on for a little while, you can make it so that instead of maybe the 200 HP that the monster originally had, maybe now it has 400 HP or something like that. So it at least goes on for a little bit longer. You can also make it so that maybe the hit die that it's using are a little bit bigger or beefier. Really, you can just kind of make any adjustment, whether it's an HP or hit die, and that will usually help balance out the encounter a lot. And then you can always make it so that a certain damage is either resistant or vulnerable to, depending on the aesthetic of the creature, fiendish, celestial, so on and so forth, along with conditions it's immune to. So there's really just a lot of random things that you can just kind of either include or exclude that help make a balanced encounter. And as long as you're flexible with that during the encounter and you're not this is something it has and it has to do this every single time type of thing, you're usually going to be just fine. Mm-hmm. Plus then it helps.
My advice
have everybody have fun.
Is, the first part is knowing what your party does, the players that you have and stuff like that. If you have players who are more similar to me or Drew and Lydia at times that have a certain ability or a spell or just know how to do a lot of damage very quickly, my advice is always whatever you think that they can handle, make it 2 levels stronger. It is always better to overshoot the fear factor of a combat, assuming that you want it to actually be a viable combat where they're threatened and challenged, than to undershoot, because it's a lot harder to be oh yes, it now has a 4th attack, than it is to be okay, maybe the D12, the 2D12 damage thing, maybe I should just tone that down to not 2D12s. Mm-hmm. So always overshoot. If you want challenge, more creatures is always harder than more health.
Yeah.
More creatures is just way more difficult to deal with. It doesn't matter how good your party is at AoE or how good at single target damage they are. More creatures is just, there's a reason why the DMG has a damage or a CR multiplier for If there's 2 creatures, both at CR 9, it isn't CR 18. It's CR 18 times 1.5. So it's actually like a CR 27, something like that.
Yeah.
So more creatures, always harder than less.
Yeah. And Aaron and I both agree that like the
DMG
encounter
CR
builder,
challenge rating thing.
Yeah, like encounter builder on page 81 and 82 of the DMG, and like the CR rating system, not super accurate.
Not super accurate.
So obviously you have to be just kind of aware of things and be aware of like what the weaknesses and strengths of your party are, because there's going to be some things that, while it's a CR, whatever for your party, it could be, immensely harder than that.
Oh yeah.
Because like if you don't have a cleric, undead are a lot more difficult to deal with than a party that has 2 clerics that can both just turn undead at any moment. So just stuff like that are things to keep in mind.
So Maz, the problem that you're dealing with is an incredibly common thing, especially in 5th edition. 5th edition combat is so weird. It's so weird. If they're doing appropriate damage to players but die really easily, add more of them. I don't know if you super have to change a whole lot. Just add more creatures, because if they each die in 1 hit, it doesn't really matter if there's 5 of them.
Yeah. But it's very important when you have multiple creatures, make sure you target one of your players that none of them touch, so that they just sit there looking around in the middle of the fight, not really knowing what to do as crystal
And then
frogs,
they just cry as their party members die around them. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very traditional tactic.
That's that emotional damage you know?
That is a beefy party, just in terms of healing and single target damage. Mercy Monk, Cleric, and Rogue.
Dude, Mercy Monk is sick.
Mercy Monk is sick.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's any other. You may also encounter creatures that have a CR that is really high up there, and for some reason they never feel as strong, or a CR that is not as high as you think that it should be. I'm dying here. Wake up. It's bad.
Maz, your girlfriend's awesome for picking Mercy Monk right away. That's a dope
It's pretty strong.
For your first character.
Flying is a huge factor in that. So you'll notice a lot of dragons, we've defeated a lot of dragons, and as a DM I've put dragons against my players many times before. In reality, dragons are a lot harder to kill than it seems when you fight against them, because if they fought the way that dragons would actually fight, I really don't know how you deal with it.
Yeah, they would stay up in the sky. They'd blast you with their breath weapon every other time. And if you're really strict about the fear effects of dragons, half the time you couldn't do anything.
It's literally if you want a dragon to be scary, just have them fly, fire a breath weapon, and then just circle until they recharge the breath weapon and do it again. And they could just do that forever. It's one of those.
That's how you take a really simple encounter and really piss off your players with it.
Yeah. It's there's a lot of creatures that and in total, any creature that flies and has a ranged attack is one of the most frustrating things to deal with for a lot of parties, especially if they don't your party really doesn't have range. Mm-hmm. So if you want to challenge them, literally one bat with a gosh dang bow and arrow, that level can be actually really hard to beat, because it's what are you gonna do, punch them from 50 feet away? No. At most you're gonna hope that your rogue has some kind of range thing, or the cleric has a spell or something they can fire at. I play in a
clerics have range.
Yeah.
It's they have 3 spells that kind of hit things far away.
I play in a 20 plus level campaign, and my character cannot fly. And let me tell you, 90% of the fights that we're in, it's all right, so we have a vampire. with wings. And I'm like, God dang it. It's 20 plus. So once you reach level 20, you can continue to adventure. But instead of gaining levels, you gain epic boons, which are like extra abilities beyond your class level that are supposed to be like legendary. So currently I am a 20th level character with 14 levels in fighter, 6 levels in cleric. But I have a boon that means that I no longer feel the effects of age. Like, I just don't age anymore. I have a boon that it gives me true sight out to like 60 feet or something like that. And then I think I'm going to end up with a boon that makes me like immune to fire damage and stuff like that. But yeah, it's basically just real beefy feats that are like permanent status. One of them makes you completely immune to damage for a round, stuff like that. Really interesting. High level campaigns are super, super interesting. But yeah, I still don't have the ability to fly because I'm a fighter and a cleric, and I don't have wings or anything like that. So anytime we encounter a flying creature, I pretty much just stand around on the ground until one of the other classes casts fly on me.
You need to like freaking like seduce a god so they make you an Awesomar.
No, I'm good. He doesn't even want to be here. Like, my entire character trait at the start was, I don't want to do this, but I'm doing it because I'm too good of a person to not do it.
Yeah.
Also, DJ, you're gonna hate me for this. Are you able to turn your mic up at all? I assume the answer is no.
Oh, maybe a little bit.
Oh, that's much better.
All right.
I can actually turn it down. See, Grant, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't the desktop audio. But yeah, making encounters is hard, and it's really just a learned thing. If you know that your characters have no way of dealing with like flying creatures, maybe you let them be on the ground for a little bit more. Also, yes. I don't know what I just described, but maybe.
Also, I've been looking for it this whole time. If you are curious about epic boons, in the DMG, it's on page 231 is when it starts, and then 232 is when it actually like lists all of them, and they're pretty rad.
So my favorite thing about this entire time is that Lydia has just been in the bottom right corner, completely silent, and occasionally you'll smile.
Well, we just gotta make fun of her every once in a while, and then she'll notice us.
Lydia, is there any topic that you would like to cover today?
As a fellow DM, is there any advice that you'd like to give?
DM,
about,
your traps are incredible, and I don't like, not like in the Cather way of traps, but like your puzzles and stuff from the like one time you've DM'd.
Puzzles were really good.
That was incredible.
Well, because before I met you guys, I did DM a campaign, and it was in person, and that's how I prefer to DM, because then I love puzzles and riddles and things like that, but I don't like them online. Because I feel like puzzles and riddles get really frustrating very easily, and so I liked to make them like physical puzzles and like actual like props and things that they'd have to like use and like work with, because that seemed to make it more fun and less frustrating and annoying. But yeah, I really enjoy puzzles and things like that.
I wish that because the thing is, I absolutely agree with you. Like, physical props and stuff for like puzzles are so cool. And then as a DM, I think to myself, do I really want to do that?
Yeah, exactly.
It's so
like,
lazy.
Oh, it's so nice. And then you're like, wait, that means I have to figure out the puzzle beforehand, and then I have to create all the props and give it to them.
I had so much fun with that campaign, because like another thing I did was I knew they were going to encounter this fae, but like this fae creature, but I made it so that the fae creature could only speak Sylvan, because one of the other players was able to speak Sylvan. What's happening?
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at Maz, because Maz, I respect you. I understand. Get a freaking DMG. Okay? Get the book.
I would say, actually, I think it's probably better for you to just get a player's handbook.
Well, get them. Honestly, get the 3 main books is what you should have: Player's Handbook, Monster Manual, DMG. Get them. Just do it.
Does make life a bit easier. Please continue,
Yeah.
Lydia.
Well, I had this fey creature that could only speak Sylvan because I knew one of my players was able to speak Sylvan, and what I did was I prepared a bunch of Sylvan phrases that I knew that would be useful, that I knew was gonna give them hints to things and stuff like that. And so I did that, and I actually spoke to them in Sylvan, and then I just handed the player who spoke Sylvan pieces of paper that's translated what the Sylvan was. And so then they had to actually translate to the other players.
That is such a thing that is I love in like in-person games that is so hard to do online. It's like just giving a single player pieces of information multiple times, because you can do like a whisper thing. Like DJ has sent like a Snapchat or a message over Zoom and stuff, but it's so hard with like individual puzzles because you have to like say them out loud.
Yeah.
You're like, oh yes, so and so, you can read it like this, and then everyone else is like, even though it isn't like we're trying to metagame, but now we know.
Yeah.
And so you can't like keep anything secret from us. And
It's very difficult.
Some good secrets.
Yeah. But yeah. So I'm excited for Camp Cryptids.
I'm also excited for Camp Cryptids.
Just to see what becomes of that. So I've been really struggling to get motivated for Camp Cryptids. Because I'm like, oh, I know I need to work on it, and I need to figure out this part, and blah, 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 blah. But anytime I listen to the little theme song that whenever Grant sends me updates to the theme song, I'm like, oh, I'm so pumped. And then I'll get working to it. It's so cute. Grant's
ability to, like, my favorite thing is that he'll, like, make, like, a music thing. And then it'll be like, it's not done. And I don't think it's, but it's like, it's rough draft. And then I listen to it and it's like, oh, this sounds like 2 more steps and it's fully produced. And he's like, yeah, right. And I wrote this on a phone app. And I'm like,
right. Well, and like,
God, that kid.
He nailed it as far as like the vibe I was wanting. Cause I told him, I was like, I want it to be like Scooby-Doo Gravity Falls combo. I want it to be cute and quirky, but also a little bit like twingy and things like that. And he nailed it.
Yeah, no, I talked to him. He was like, Aaron, I have a thing I want to show you. And he like got in my car and plugged in his phone. Well, actually, he didn't plug in his phone because he is an Apple and they don't have gosh dang ports for sound. Ugh.
Right.
Ugh. And he like played it through a speaker or something, and he was like, "Yeah, I sat there and I listened to the Gravity Falls theme song for like half an hour, just like on repeat."
I bet it's a good one to listen to.
Oh, it's really good. So now we sit in awkward silence for another hour and a half.
Yeah.
Thanks, Maz. We are all really talented.
That is a very it's one of the things that we noticed the like earliest on for the group. Is that we're sitting there and you're like, guys, why do we have so many people that can do so many random different cool things? And then there's
it worked out really perfectly.
Me and DJ.
Because we like when we first got started, we'd be like, okay, this is something we want to do, and then someone would be like, I know how to do that, I can do this, and we're like,
I know
cool. And then we'd be like, okay, this is another thing that we want to do, and then someone else would be like, oh, I know how to do that, I can do that, and we're like,
conveniently, I majored in this in college. Like, you
okay,
haven't
cool.
even been to college.
Yeah. So it worked out really well that we have a very well-rounded and talented cast. Basically, it makes it so that Aaron and I don't have to do anything.
Great. I was at work the other day, and one of my coworkers, I was working on stuff. At work. Like I had my journal and I was working on stuff. And
we're not gonna say which stuff, but Aaron and I know which stuff.
There's a lot of options for what stuff I was working. But my coworker comes over and he's like, that okay if I ask what you're working on? And I started telling him that it was this and this for D&D, and he's like, oh, you play D&D? And then we literally just nerded out about D&D the rest of the shift. But
Losers.
one of the
And
things
you nerds
that
play
I
Dungeons and
was...
Dragons? Wow.
All right, well, I was about to hype you guys up, but never mind. I take it back.
It's fine. I don't need love and affection anyway.
What were you guys saying? I'm sorry for interrupting.
Well, I was telling him that, like, we stream it and we work really hard on, like, the production of it and things like that. And so I was telling him, like, I do the art and I make overlays and like little videos for our social media and things like that. And then I mentioned, I was like, yeah, and then we also we like make our own music and stuff like that. He's like, you have music? And it was really cool. And it was really cool because it's like, we're pretty cool people.
We are pretty cool.
And we're definitely very spoiled with all the extra like production stuff that we get to have. Because I remember before this campaign, none of us had bought maybe one of us had commissioned a piece of character art. I think throughout like sometime in high school, maybe Diego did that or something like that. But before this game, like none of us had any character art. We really didn't play with a whole lot of music.
Normal Dungeons and Dragons players.
Yeah, unfortunately we don't play with maps right now, but the maps that we did play with, it was like a grid where we drew with like pen and pencil, and then we had like D4s where our characters and stuff like that.
Until I got a table that I don't know if I've ever actually gotten to use with a map. But I have a table that is like...
No. We used the map.
Feywild map?
In the Feywild.
No.
It wasn't an encounter.
I mean actually using the like... I have a plexiglass with grid paper underneath it, specifically for the purpose of drawing combat maps on.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I've ever actually gotten to use it for that.
I feel like we did it didn't we? Your campaign before we moved.
Maybe
did you have your
once
table?
or twice, but I don't know.
Where I played Jamal. I feel like that maybe not.
I don't think that we ever actually got to use the map.
I think, if I remember correctly, I think you started building the table after I left.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sometime I know that I've used the table to play D&D on, but we never had like a map actually drawn on the plexiglass. It's so sad.
Especially because plexiglass is expensive.
It is, and
it's an expensive addition to never use.
It's funny to think that what we do now is so far away from what most people actually play Dungeons and Dragons like, and how a lot of us even just used to play Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
Like, I never.
Well, my coworker commented.
Yeah. He was
like, oh gosh, our games are so lame, and I'm like, no, your games aren't lame. We're just bougie.
Yeah, we're just bougie.
The difference is
we're just extra.
We have people watching us, so we have to make sure that they are as entranced by the pretty colors as we are.
Yeah. We're like cuttlefish in the sea. We like do a little flashing orb, and that's how we lure in our prey.
Yes, DJ just referred to you as prey.
Yes. Well, you know.
It lines up.
The food chain is very similar to capitalism. Thank you, Prey, for coming to our stream. It's actually kind of, there are some things that I really miss about it. About like the just like super like uber casual, and I say uber casual as though it's not the 99% of Dungeons & Dragons games that are played. It's just like normal people, but like you don't care about that. You sit down and you just have like, I made this character 3 weeks ago on a piece of notebook paper, and I have a set of dice. That's just what you do, and it's so much fun. And you don't need all these fancy things.
I think it's no surprise that one of the things that I miss the most is like getting to play even longer than 4 hours. Because first of all, with us doing the stream stuff, not only do we have to keep it 4 hours just for everybody's sake, but also for like our sake as far as our energy levels, because adding the stream element takes a lot more energy and a lot more focus, I think. And so I do miss like having 8-hour sessions where it's like let's go, let's just keep going, like we don't need to stop, like just keep going.
I feel bad for those DMs.
I was one of those DMs, DJ.
I'm so sorry if we ever abused you that way, Aaron.
So it's the weirdest thing. So we try to get as close to the like people sitting around a table playing Dungeons and Dragons as possible. Obviously, we aren't all around the same table all the time. We have been before, but we try to get as close to that vibe and try to keep it as natural and like unspecially produced or like plastic as possible. But we also have to put on a show, so it's a performance just as much as it is us playing a game. And so like no matter what you do, if it is a streamed game, it's not going to look or feel exactly like it's not going to feel exactly like a normal game. It's just harder. And now I remember when I was first playing, like when I first started DMing Dungeons and Dragons, it was probably like a year or two into me DMing. There's one of the most notable games, and there's actually a picture of a couple of these, but it was me and like 4 or 5 other guys, and over the course of the night, for some reason, everyone had just made random hats out of things that happened to be nearby. And so, like, I had on an actual hat. One of them had fashioned a Capri Sun case into a welder's mask. Someone had like wrapped like a plastic bag around their head.
Like a bandana?
Like a bandana type of thing. Like, people just had like random... I think one of them just had a small chair. Like a little kid's wooden chair was just like sitting on their head like a crown. It was... And, like, there was no reason for that. There was no in-game implication as for why that would be. But it was literally just, like, when you talk to, like, one character in specific or one character as a scene, we were just, like, dumb high schoolers. We weren't trying to put on a show, so people would just, like, leave, like, go grab a thing, and someone got bored and was like, I bet I could make this into a hat.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. At one point in time, one of the characters, or one of the players... he was playing a detective, and he was like, he was really tired that day, and he decided, you know, I'm going to go investigate under this bridge for a thing. And I'm like, you realize that this bridge is entirely inconsequential? He's like, yep. And then he just crawls underneath the table and goes to sleep. Then like an hour later, he wakes up. He's like, did we discover the mystery? And I'm like, no.
So
your character wakes up. Also, I rolled the die. I'm like, you have been robbed of 100 gold pieces. He was like, that was worth it.
Dude, the in-game naps were vital.
They were important.
Yeah. I do have a question.
I might have an answer.
The answer is blue.
I know my answer. But as far as when you're DMing, when you're first starting and you're getting your players are getting their characters ready, how much backstory do you guys like to get?
As much as possible.
I don't know. As much as the people are not lazy enough to give. Because here's the thing, right? With like, if someone brings you like a novel, I have a really good memory for things that I read. Like, if I read a book, this is how I conquered the AR reading scores as a young child. I am able to obtain key pieces of information and then retain them for as long as needed. To an extent. And undoubtedly, they're going to have something in their backstory that they're really excited for. And I'm not going to remember it or think that it's that important to them, and I'm not going to include it in the game. Then, like, 30 sessions in, they're going to go, man, I really wish that this was a thing that had happened. And I'm like, what? And I'm just not going to remember that it's even a thing. So, like, as much as I love the, like, passion of creating, like, 17 pages of in-depth, and this is what, on the day of his birth, and to the day of his death. And it's like, you haven't even died yet. How do you, what is happening? I think that it's great that you have that, as long as you understand that not all of it will ever appear in the game, because I just don't have, I've got 7 other people that I got to deal with.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know, like, a page to 2 pages is, like, the limit for, like, I can probably fit all of this into a game.
Yeah. See, I would agree with that caveat very much. I want as much backstory as I can get, but I do not want to be forced to have to include your backstory. Like, Cather has a ton of stuff that we will never touch on. Just because, like, some of the things that we could touch on with Cather's background could be a whole campaign in and of itself.
Yeah.
And so I'm just not going to deal with that, you know? So there are certain aspects that I'm definitely going to try to incorporate, you know, like Tarak and the orcs and stuff like that. Like, that's awesome, and I wanted to incorporate that. Renaya, we're getting to you, you know, so buckle up. But, like, there are other things that it's like, you know, that's, you know, not quite fitting in the theme, or I can't make it work into the story. And so that's just a cool, like, usually traumatic event that you went through and you get to talk about, but we're not going to revisit, you know?
So, like, my policy when I make... Actually, no, first, I will save this till later. Lydia, what is your preferred amount of stuff written?
I'm about the same. Like, 1 to 2 pages of, like, it, like, written out, if you want to write it down and things like that. I have a system that I do as far as... And I've, like, tried to tweak it and things with, like, DJ to help fit what is helpful for DJ, but I like to have like the general, like, backstory written out. And this is more me as a player, less DM side, but I like to have the general backstory written out as, like, kind of a story kind of thing, but within that I like to have lots of loose ends that the DM can grab if they want. That's my approach with it. It's like, here's a lot of different things that you can take and run with in the game. I don't expect you to do all of them. I maybe expect one that you can pick one, but like,
I think that's, to go off of what you're saying, I think that goes off of something that Aaron and I have talked about all the time, is player DM synergy. Understanding that as a player, you are playing the DM's game. You are playing what they wrote, whether that's a campaign a module that they chose and asked if you wanted to play in, or whatever campaign they're writing. So you can request and say, like, hey, I'd really love to explore some of my character's background, but if your DM's like, I'm sorry, that's probably not going to fit into what I'm thinking going on, stuff like that, like, they have every right to do that. And as a player, if you're going to play under that DM, you have to respect that. Now,
well, and I really like...
You should also do your best to incorporate those things.
That's just what I was going to say. That's exactly what I was just going to say.
Well, and what I really like is, I think, DJ, you've said it before in another Table Scraps, is it's... Oh, crap, I lost my train of thought. Hold on, it's coming back.
Something you said in a different Table Scraps? I will stall for time while I eat these chips. So my preferred amount of backstory to write as a player, I am probably... You can tell me if this is true. I may have had the least backstory, other than Edward, because Edward didn't have a backstory.
Let's look. Now let's see.
Oh, I remember.
Yours
I'm gonna say it before I forget.
Say it.
I really like how, like, DJ, you worded it once before, where it's your backstory is more for you, as far as, like, developing your character. It's more so that you know how to build your character, you know how to play your character, helps you with that, and it's on you as the player to know your backstory. It's not on the DM to know your backstory.
Yeah, 100%. I want to look.
But the thing I was also going to say with what I was saying was, so I'll have the general kind of story laid out. Again, keep it, like, under 2 pages. 2 pages is still a lot. But then going back in, like what I do with like DJ now is I have the different pieces of her backstory. So there's different elements of her backstory, and I just go in and I kind of like bullet point stuff about it, so that it's a quick reference on, because I know like DJ might need this kind of information. So here's just quick bullet points so that he can look at it and not have to scan a whole novel.
So here's what I'm laughing at. So I'm going through. I have everybody's backstory on my Google. I'm going through, and Aaron, you are correct. You definitely have the least. You and Hannah both made your backstories double spaced, and yours double spaced is about as long as everybody else's single spaced. And so if you go single space it, it's like half a page. And I see what you did, because I specifically said, hey, I need at least a page. And you sneaky boy, did half a page.
Look, 12-point Times New Roman double space font. That's the way to go.
It's true.
I'm an APA specific type of guy. All right. But like my backstory stuff, right? Were you still saying things?
I was gonna say something else, and go ahead.
Okay, my preferred amount of backstory that I give someone, I find the core thread of character plot. Like, what is a thing that changed my character's life to be where he is now? Like, what is the important event that occurred? For using Track as an example, killing his mentor, like, and escaping the wastes. That's like the key thread that he followed. Everything beyond that, pretty dang up in the air. And so one of the things that I like from a DM is the permission and ability and trust to allow me to add to my backstory aggressively in-game. Which occurs a lot, is just like me saying a thing or doing a thing that is like, there's no precedent for the DM to know that this is a thing that my character would or had done in the past. And it's my job to make sure that it doesn't give him an unfair advantage or actually change anything about the plot in the present and future. Just like, oh, cool, this is a thing that he knows, or this is a thing that he's done before. And so the backstory that I gave for Tarak was basically, Tarak was born very small. No one liked him. One day, a dwarf, like, willingly entered into camp, surrendering himself into capture, and then befriended Tarak in the search for information about their culture and people and things like that. Tarak and him got along really well. He taught Tarak how to speak common fluently, and like he taught him a lot about like kindness and mercy and things like that. And then they were like, let's get out of here, let's escape. They made a whole plan for it, but the Tanar found out and forced Tarak to kill his mentor as the like finishing part of his gosh dang input into the White Hand. And then eventually Tarak escaped like a year later into the world, carrying the gloves made of his mentor, with the purpose of eventually returning them to the Olisar dwarves, but wanting to not immediately die, because his mentor also wanted him to like experience the world and stuff like that. And that is the entire backstory that I gave, which is like, there's not even really an NPC that you can be like, oh yes, you know this person from your backstory.
Nope. The one that there possibly could be is dead.
Yeah, but as you saw in the campaign, I mentioned that he was the he was the sixth son of 8 children. And so that was a thing that DJ could just be like, well, okay, here's one of the other 8 kids.
Which I did.
And yeah, so that's my backstories are normally incredibly slim. Just because I like to be able to add on to them. I like to have a backstory that fits in with the campaign and actually applies. So I like to write my backstory while the campaign is happening.
And that also reflects in your DM style too.
Oh yeah.
You've told me in the past how you want to know who's playing and what characters they're playing before you write out your campaign, because you want to write it to incorporate those characters.
Absolutely.
Well.
And a lot of the times, like, I won't plan a session until the previous, or like I won't even plan entire arcs because I'm not sure how a certain arc will go. And I might want to incorporate things that happened in that or like 2 arcs beforehand as like cameos or things that specifically relate to a character specific action.
Yeah.
And so I'll only make like half arcs or a vague plot line of where I think a game will go.
Yeah, you said it very much before, where you always know the destination that you're going to end up at. How they get there,
I have no
you
idea.
don't know. But you always know where the session's going to end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which is pretty good.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then going off of something that you said, I think I left when you started it, so I'm not sure if you already said this. But something else to keep in mind is what Aaron has been talking about, the ability to change your background or add on to it. I very much agree. As long as it's not like metagaming, so you now have like a special, thing that helps you in this current like plot. Feel free to edit or change or add to your background really as much as you want. Just trying to keep it consistent and coherent. Like Lydia and I have worked on her backstory like 7 times.
Yeah.
Especially since her Ninthful disappeared. Like that changed a lot of stuff for her, and so we had to work on a lot of different things, and so stuff like that's really important.
See, the trick is, Maz, it doesn't matter if they bite the plot lines. It's just that they matter if they bite anything, because no matter what, you're just a fisherman with multiple pulls in the water. Doesn't matter where the fish bites as long as it ends up in your bucket.
I saw one like meme thing where it was a quote that a DM told their players, and it was like, if you are not gonna go and follow this plot, the plot will follow you.
Exactly.
I saw another one where it was a DM behind her DM screen, and it was her, and she was just kind of like looking like this, and she's like, me watching my players debate which door they're going to choose to avoid certain death, knowing that every door leads to the same destination.
Exactly. It's a little thing I like to call the illusion of choice.
Yes, exactly.
And as long as your players think, and now mind you, this shouldn't be a thing that you use all the time, where it's like, no matter what you choose, it does not matter to the outcome of this game.
That's called railroading. That's
not any fun. But if you've spent 3 weeks building up to a certain encounter and you've like plotted out so specifically, just use the encounter.
Also, players, bite onto plot hooks. Obvious plot hooks,
good
bite
fish.
onto them.
All right, the
Be
bait
fish.
looks good for a reason.
Yeah.
I wrote a very bad. The worst part about looking at things that you did like years ago is that you're like, how did I write this and then not realize that it not only looked terrible but sounded terrible and was so badly filled with grammar. But I wrote a blog post called Fishing Metaphors, and it's literally I love fishing metaphors for pretty much all. I'm basically Flint Lockwood's dad.
Lockwood.
I love fishing metaphors for Dungeons and Dragons. Like, you'll hear me use them a lot because I like fishing. I think it's fun, and I think that it fits very well. I'll even explain like different DM styles with fishing metaphors. So like, if you look at like how I DM, it is very much the single fisherman, multiple pulls, but they all go to the same fisherman. If you look at how like Matthew Mercer DMs, he is very much a multiple fisherman with multiple pulls. There's a lot of hooks in the water, but like somehow it goes to a different end game every single time.
Yeah, each hook goes to a different adventure, and he just keeps track of them all.
And he's just like, oh yeah, I know every fisherman on this lake. I was trying to think. Chris Perkins is he was like the first DM that I ever watched with like Acquisitions Incorporated. Chris Perkins is very much there's like only one hook in the water, because a lot of the games that I watched for Acquisitions Incorporated were like con games, so like PAX and stuff like that. So there really isn't a lot of time. Like, you have a specified plot line. You've got to get to the end of it. The thing is, there's actually more line in the water than just that one hook. The fishes, they just don't see it yet. And so sometimes they'll swim to grab that hook, and a different one will grab them and pull them up. And that's the like, in my mind, the perfect one-shot style of, like, somehow, because it amazed me. They would always finish the plot line and end at the perfect moment, like 20 seconds from when their time slot was over. And that blew my mind. I'm like, how does one person DM a game in such a way that it is completely unscripted, the players don't know what's going to happen, yet somehow they finish perfectly and complete all of the things that they needed to complete by the end of the session. And I still don't know how they do it.
I know how they do it. Is the fact that Chris Perkins has been playing D&D for 40 years and makes the game.
I mean, yeah. But still, I want to do that.
I mean, it's still extremely impressive.
I want to be able to sit
DJ,
down.
what fish analogy do you DM?
You guys do what I want, basically. I don't know which analogy you want to use for that. One hook,
DJ
one
fishes
plot,
with a
you know?
net.
Yeah. I'm like, no, you guys are going to do what I want you to do. And you guys, well, first of all, I have some really amazing players who do a really great job of just following the plot.
Yeah, Drew's.
You guys don't veer off a whole lot to do other things or to mess around or go like, hey, I have this personal vendetta that I want to go get rid of, so I'm just going to go do that. And it sucks to suck for you guys, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, even, like, I know Cather really wants to go visit, like, Melora's hometown.
Mm-hmm.
But the character Cather understands that is about timing. It's about an appropriate time. It's not just going to be I feel like we're kind of getting to a lull of something, so I'm just going to go do it. It also helps that once you guys get hooked onto a plot arc, it goes on for a long time. So, like, downtime isn't something that you guys have a ton of. It's kind of like, okay, we do this, and then, that led us to this, and then, that led us to this. And you guys are just kind of following this one grand story, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know I've mentioned a couple times, and I think I'm going to do it. After this arc, we're going to do a time jump, I think. I'm going to make it official. And so you guys will have a lot of downtime to go do a bunch of different things in that time, because I think it's going to be maybe like 1 or 2 years. So we'll see.
Really?
Yeah, it'll be a long time.
Renee can get married, divorced, and then remarried.
This all to Graz.
All to Graz, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, she'll either get divorced, married, divorced, remarried.
No. You just don't have to tell the other person you're married to.
Yeah. So that's helpful because I don't really have to worry about what you guys are wanting to do or where you're wanting to go. So I don't know if I really fall into any of that because really my players are awesome and I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing I really do enjoy with our campaign is that we always know what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Except for that one pirate arc.
Yeah, that's how you guys are kind of like, what are we doing here again? But we don't talk about that.
Exactly. That was there's one really long beach episode.
Yeah. So Maz,
where
just so
two people died.
Just so you can see, one thing that you can take solace in is the fact that your mistakes as a DM aren't on display, at least to anybody but your players, you know? So you can take solace in that, but it's always fun.
So, True Sora, also, welcome to the chat. This is a first-time viewer. We also had another one earlier in Desmar Sama. Welcome to the Paper Dungeon chat. Thank you for doing that. Not enough players. There are so many players out there who are just bad fish. Who see a hook and they're like, "Oh man, look at that hook! Look at that hook right there. It's got big juicy worm on it. It's like a little bit of like cayenne pepper on there. Tasty." And then they're like, "Anyway, there's some water," and then they just swim away. And you're like, "Oh my god!"
One of my favorite things was like
Cinder.
In a past episode, there's something DJ really wanted us to do. And he like messages in
Please
the group.
go
He's
in
like,
the
please
hole."
do this.
Oh yeah, it was when you guys were exploring Tarak's like cave, and I mentioned like the footprints and everything like that, and there are two things. A, I knew that I wanted. There was the Spear of Grumsh, which I really wanted Tarak to have before going into it, so I knew I had to get him that. And then the other thing was that I knew that I wasn't ready for you guys to actually encounter the orcs quite yet. So I was like, please go in here so that you guys get the thing that you need, the plot hook device that you need, and so that I don't have to impromptu create orcs during the break to figure this out.
And it was really funny too, because it's like, I think I was the first one to see the message.
Mm-hmm.
And so
You were trying so
Heather and I
hard.
would be like, let's go. And then like, I don't think the others had saw the message yet, so they're like, why do we want to do this? Like, I'm like, I'm going.
So this is the beautiful thing. I knew very clearly that DJ had set this up as a very, very obvious plot hook for me to enter. And I thought to myself, Lydia's got it covered. And so Drag was just like, oh, well, it's not my job to know what goes on in this place. I just rent here.
I just
I don't
even
pay
know the
for
landlord.
rent. I'm basically just a squatter at this person's house. So, like, if they live here, that's super on them. I don't want to disturb them or anything.
It's a blessing and a curse, because I will fall for anything. Because that's what happened. That's actually what happened in my one shot. Is if I think the DM is presenting something to do, I'll just go for it, even if it's a trap. My brain's not like, what's the smart thing to do?
Yeah.
DM is like, here's a thing you can do, and I go, okay, and I walk into it. That's why I got yeeted by a hag in my one shot.
Mm-hmm.
That was great. That's still probably my favorite unexpected thing to happen in this campaign.
You also have that moment where an old man opens his door and he's like, what are you people doing? We're like, we're running. And he's like, I have a cellar you can hide in. And we're like, oh, thanks.
I love that I literally go, that's oddly specific. Is there a reason you have that? And then we're like, we don't have time. Let's go. And we all like cram into it.
And every single one of us was like, that's incredibly oddly convenient.
Okay.
Yeah, it was great.
So there was also that same person who fell asleep underneath my table all those years ago. He DM'd.
Who was it?
It was Cameron.
Yeah, I figured
he
it was.
DM'd a session at one point in time, and this is how the first episode went. We all woke up in different areas, and we were like walking along a trail, each individually going to different places, and we see a fork in the road that has a sign on it that like points and names the two different locations. I don't remember the name of either locations. And he's like, I mean, you don't really have any destination right now, but the sign that points this direction is really good looking, and you really feel like you should go that way. And like, I asked him afterwards, I'm like, Cameron, why didn't you just make that the only path? Like, why did you even make another one? He's like, I honestly didn't think of that. I'm like, you could have just had it go directly to the one location and not have someone be like, I want to go somewhere else.
Or another way you could just go about it is make it so that there's two destinations, and then make it so whichever one they choose to go to is the one that you have the encounter plan for, and switch the names.
Every person was on a different path. We were not in a group yet.
Oh.
So okay, half of the group could have just gone to the other direction. No. I agree with you there. We're not jerks, so we just went the direction that he was like beckoning us to. It was one of the funniest things. Where it was like, this is the most clear hook I have ever seen. You just really think that this is the way you should go.
This one looks really good.
Really, like it's like embossed.
There's a lot of footprints going to this wall.
And that's a good thing. You know that's a good. That means it's safe, and that's a place that you would want to go.
This is kind of like on topic, but a little off. But one of the things I really, really, really love about like our campaign being streamed and all of that is that we were also starting as a brand new group together as well. So it's like, so you can see in the beginning
us figuring each other
us
out.
figuring it out and us learning, like, because like when we start, like, I believe in the group one shot, I don't get to play until halfway through because like Edward and Tarak had these antics going on and all of that. And so I think it's really cool to look back on like how we started and how much we've learned about each other and how we play to like now.
Lydia and I like actually like each other now. It's crazy.
No,
It's
man.
crazy.
I remember when you two
Lydia hated me.
each other.
I didn't hate you.
But he was scary.
You were scary.
You know, that's fair. That's fair.
DJ
I'm
has
an
a very
intimidating.
powerful personality. That is very...
Listen, okay, here's the thing. If you're wrong, I'm gonna tell you that you're wrong. No, I'm actually very like conflict avoidant, just so everybody knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool because it's like I think the problem early on was you and I, DJ, were like too much alike.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like we're walking. It was more of like we're trying to take the same, like that awkward dance kind of thing where we're trying to walk around each other and things like that. But then we learned, oh wait, we're going the same direction and now we're walking in the same pace.
We just got arm in arm. We just started skipping. You know, it was great.
Cinder, I am sorry that you were watching the early ones. You don't have to apologize. I can't do it. I cannot watch early episodes. It is
I
a
can't.
thing. I can't.
I can't watch the early episodes either.
I can hardly watch the ones that we just did.
I just watch the TikToks, you know,
what happens
and
with
that
me
gets me all the joy I need.
Is with the recent episodes, like I'll really, really enjoy the episodes, and then I'll just watch it over and over and over the rest of the week. And then as soon as we get a new episode, now I'm like, okay, I can't watch any of the old episodes.
Yeah, like,
other
that's
episode.
terrible. I don't want to see that.
Like we can't look at that one anymore. Now
Lydia,
I'm
Lydia does this great thing where it's like instead of having like a TV show or a movie that she's like keeping up on, she just rewatches her own content.
The part that she was a part of.
It's like, no, I don't watch New Girl. I watch the Paper Dungeon.
I watch the
over
Paper
and
Dungeon.
over and over again.
So I was never that way with movies. I was that way with books. I have read The Lost Hero by Rick Riordan.
It's a good one.
By now, over 31 times.
Oh my gosh, Aaron.
There were times when I went to school that I would read I would read the book in a day. That I would just like sit down and I would read it in like 3 periods that I just happened to have spare time.
That is so crazy fast.
I'm so sorry.
That is a lot of words
That's
per
a
minute.
lot of words.
Oh yeah, no.
Bad,
Like, you're reading like 200 words per minute.
I held the reading record at my elementary school for a reason. All right, I can read some books. Like most often, if I am given a day, I will.
Worst one in that series. Hot take. That's funny.
How dare? That's like my favorite one. Just some. It's okay. I'm gonna get on my problem with the Percy Jackson series. It's so hard to read the first books because at the time when I read them, I was also a kid, and now that I read them, I'm like, oh my god, this kid's like 12. That's why they're stupid. Like it's just like poorly written. But then the last ones, like once they hit like 17 or 18 and they're like normal people, then you're like, oh, this is sick. They're just a bunch of people doing rad things with Greek gods, and that's awesome. I don't think I've read the Iron Trial series, but I will, if you're on our Discord and you send me a book recommendation, I will get it done and read. And if you ever want book recommendations, especially about fantasy books, I have got you covered. I am
Aaron,
there.
Here's what I want from you, Aaron. I want you to go back through and I want you to reread the Edge Chronicles in a week, all 10 books. And then I want like a 10-page essay that breaks down the whole series.
Do you want them
like
in
a Cliff Note version
order or book order?
Book order. Just to keep it spicy.
Ugh.
Just to keep it spicy, you know?
That's tough. How do I feel about the Disney Plus Percy Jackson show? Is it out? Because if so, I don't want to even, I don't want to be hurt again.
I don't
want to be hurt again. I've heard potential for good things about it, but I don't know if it's out or not. I can look, I guess. No, it's just news of it. Oh. Aaron's a little skeptical.
I'm scarred.
Aaron's an abused Percy
I hear
Jackson puppy.
anytime that anyone ever is like, hey, we're going to take this beloved book series that you loved as a kid and we're going to turn it into a TV show or a movie. I would say that there has not been...
You want to know what the worst thing was?
About what?
The worst thing was when they made Teen Titans Go.
No. Gosh dang. Kill it.
That was horrible.
Now, admittedly, I will bring up the idea that the fact that it is self-aware about how bad it is makes it better.
It does make it a lot better.
Because there is an episode where they like meet the
original ones,
and even the ones from like the like gritty animated version and stuff like that, where it's like, we're more of a movie. We're like basically adults, but we're still called the Teen Titans.
Mm-hmm.
And they meet the like the ones that we know, and they're like, "What? We were so cool. What happened?
What? Who did this?
You mean to tell me that I could have been like that?" And it was like, okay, all right.
Can Teen Titans go to
hell? I don't like you, but I respect the fact that you know that I don't like you and are okay with it, because they do hit a very specific genre of like dumb kids show, and that's like what it's meant to be.
That's the thing that it is. It's meant to be a kids show, not like a teenage cartoon.
Yeah, and it's like it's a different time. Like in 2000s, you aimed at edgy teenagers. That's what you did.
Yeah. Aaron, have you read the Werewolf series?
I don't know. This is a danger because there are going to be so many people sending me book suggestions.
Well,
and
read mine first because I'm actually a part of your life.
Are you?
I'm just kidding.
But I feel like that's a disservice to the viewers.
No, you should definitely read the viewers first.
Let's see. I'm trying to think.
What did we call them earlier? The Prey.
Yes. God. Yes.
Night Begins to Shine is worth the blemish that is Teen Titans Go.
Is that the name of the episode? Is
that an episode? That must be an episode.
Because and the weirdest thing is, right, the plot line of the episodes are the same plot lines as the original show, just made like kiddish and goofy.
Interesting.
Like there was one of the episodes I remember the most. I'm gonna get.
I know when they first started, the writers who did Teen Titans Go didn't watch Teen Titans.
Mm-hmm. So there was an episode I remember. Does anyone else remember the episode where there's an old lady who runs a pie shop and it's made out of people? Like the pie is made out of people?
No.
Okay, so there was an episode where that takes place. Like she hypnotizes people and then like kills them, turns them into pie. Because original Teen Titans did not hold back. Like you straight up got murdered in that show.
Mm-hmm.
But they did that same episode. It was one of those times when you're just like, I'm flipping through channels and somehow I've ended up on Cartoon Network, and now I'm here. And I do remember that episode.
In Mother May I.
Yeah, Mother May I. That's the name of it. And they did that same episode, but it was like comedic and goofy. And I was like, oh, okay.
That's a different vibe.
Yeah, I'm like,
yep.
That's okay. That's a thing. It's weird, but like whatever. And I am always because I know a lot of people who like really hate it when shows that they watched as kids are remade and then they're not the way that they remember.
Mm-hmm.
Like that has been with like the like She-Ra show, the He-Man show, like pretty much anything that has been remade. It's never going to be the same as when you watched it as a kid.
Yeah.
Partly because that's not their audience that they're aiming for anyway.
Yeah.
Like, so like, it's okay. The show that you watched still exists, and I know that you want more content for it. But it's still there, and you can still watch it and be like, oh my god, I love this. But like, understand that there are going to be new people who love this show so much and think that your show is weird because it's not the one that they know.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, that's kind of how I view the like Teen Titans Go thing, where it's like, it's not the show that I remember, but I understand the group that they're aiming for and how effective it is at that. Mm-hmm. So like,
my thing I got annoyed with it was that it was just enough that it wasn't like far enough apart like Teen Titans was my childhood,
Mm-hmm.
but like my cousin's childhood would be Teen Titans Go.
Yep.
And so where they took the more like serious angsty teen show, turned it into this big goofy thing. So now like these people who are still relatively close to my age, when I talk about Teen Titans, they think of the silly goofy show instead of the show I knew.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. That's where my frustration with it. I was like, if you were gonna make a silly goofy show, you could have like made whole new
any other
silly
show.
Goofy show
instead of remaking something that's already popular. And you see, and I think that it's so. I am of a very marketing mindset. That's what I'm in college for. It's what I think. So in my mind, it's a very logical step, because what is going to bring people into the show? You're going to see, oh my God, they're remaking Teen Titans, and you're going to tell everyone that you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then the people who haven't seen Teen Titans are going to really enjoy it. Some of the ones who saw the old Teen Titans are going to be like, okay, this is different, but, I can understand it. But in general, that's still an increase in the number of people, and it spawns a new generation of watchers. So from a marketing perspective, it's brilliant, but I also hate it.
Yeah, and you have to also think about it like in terms of Apple, how they're trying to like increase the number of products they have available.
Mm-hmm.
If you start a new generation on the Teen Titans Go series, and they get done with that, and at that point they had grown up a little bit, and now they're angsty teens, they're going to look at the old Teen Titans show and go, oh, this is awesome because I can relate to this, and then they watch that show as well, and so you just keep building on it and keep going with it.
That
a really good example. A really good example of it is Young Justice, because Young Justice builds up, and each series, season is about different heroes basically, and about the next generation, and so not only is it for the people that like grew up watching Young Justice, where now if you go and watch Young Justice, all the characters from that first season are the same age as you, and you basically have watched them grow up throughout the series. But you also have people like Beast Boy and these younger characters that younger generations are also relating to, and then they can go back and rewatch the series and watch the other characters grow up and do everything like this too. So it's a brilliant marketing scheme. It just sucks for us.
Yeah, I do love the shows that are like that though, where they start with like the younger audience and then they grow with the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Like it matures with the audience. Like Boy Meets World is one I can think of, where they start with like the kids sitcom thing, and then they touch on mature topics as the audience is growing up.
So,
and then you throw in like sick episodes. Like there was an episode in season 5 of Young Justice where one of the characters, I think it was Robin, he goes into like a fever dream while fighting, and so he's seen all his friends that he grew up with fighting, but it's as like them from the first season, and so he's like watching his like younger friends all fight around him, and it's this beautiful scene where you start crying in the middle of it because one of the friends is dead and all this type of stuff, and you're like, it just pulls the heartstrings.
So, I would go as far to say as I don't know of anything that has ever aged well at anything. I can't think of something that I've watched and then watched later and been like, this is better now. I can't think of one.
There's stuff that stays the same, but you can't think of anything that's
exactly
better.
Now, you also have to understand, I love things that suck. Like,
true.
I will
like
some of my favorite shows are ones that are just not good by any way, shape, or form.
Like JoJo's.
And so when you're like that, aging well is not important, because the things that you watched are still worse than the things that aged poorly. So like, I'll go back and watch a show that was good to start and now it's worse, and I'm like, this is still better than Code Lyoko.
I loved Code Lyoko.
Let me tell you, it got worse.
It did.
It's still bad. I love Code Lyoko to the core of my being. It's so great, but so bad. It's just badly done. The animation is bad. Even the 2D animation is bad. There are so many scenes where like, hi, I'm looking at you, and their eyes are pointing like 2 different directions. But like, something about the show, because like, so that show for me, that was like one of the few things that like me and my sister actually watched at the same time. Like, we both enjoyed Code Lyoko, even though it was weird.
French animated series.
It's
wow.
French. Yeah, it's super funky. But it's also like, it's like it's weird on so many levels.
This looks terrible.
It's also like strangely brutal.
You're making me want to look at it now.
It's on Netflix. If you haven't seen Code Lyoko,
It is?
Yeah, it's there. You can watch it.
Oh my gosh, did they make a live action Code Lyoko?
Ew,
I
please
really
tell me they
hope
didn't.
not, because that would ruin the fun.
All I'm saying is that I'm looking at a poster that currently has the animated characters for Code Lyoko, and then it has 5 columns with real people above each character that look like the characters.
I'm searching it up. I need to know.
What's with their foreheads? Why are their foreheads all so?
Because it's French. You don't ask.
There's
You're saying that French people have big foreheads?
There's a meme that has Yumi with the Code Lyoko intro song on her forehead, written out lyrics.
Oh my god. It's the sequel to the French animated television series premiered on... Oh my... It blends
There's
live
a
action
Wii
with
game?
CGI, leaving where the original series left off? What?
Oh my god.
Code Lyoko Evolution is the sequel to the French animated television series Code Lyoko.
No, this is crazy meta. So it isn't even
Crazy meta, bro.
It isn't even like a movie that is live action of the series. It is a series that is a continuation of the animated series. It picks up where it left off, which means that they go from 2D animation to CGI, and from CGI to just actual people.
Well,
Which is hilarious because that was kind of the whole show was...
That was what it is.
Aaron, that's why they called it evolution. The show evolved into real life.
It's the perfect...
Why do I want to watch this? There's 26 episodes. I don't want to watch that.
There's
That's so many episodes.
Of the live action?
Dude.
Of the evolution.
Oh, yeah, no. Well, if you're going to watch it, you need to watch the original first.
Gosh.
How many episodes of the original?
Oh, it's
I
like
had
4 seasons.
97 episodes. Oh my
I had
gosh.
so many crushes in Code Lyoko.
I'm just letting you guys know I will not be watching this. I'm sorry.
That's
okay.
Not bad. It's a
Here's
bad
the thing:
show.
is if you watch it, you're gonna be like, "What the crap is this? I hate
It's terrible.
this."
I should go watch one episode just so I can roast it.
But it was my childhood. So
The number one standout episode in my mind is actually really early on in the season, which blows my mind. But it's like the episode where the CG things get transported into the 2D world, and so like I can't
wasn't
remember
that every
the name.
episode?
No. Because normally it's the 2D people going into the CG world, but this time they escaped, and so they were just crawling around the campus. And who was the PE teacher?
Oh, I don't remember, but I know.
Yeah,
I know exactly
like
what you're talking
Dan
about.
or something like that. Was
Yeah.
like he had like a nail gun and like a bar of rebar, and was like destroying these monsters. They were like legitimately like lasering people. Like people got stabbed and like shot. And it was like, because in the CG it's so uncanny valley that you're like, this looks so bad that I could never
Jim
relate to it.
Morals.
Huh?
Jim Morals.
Oh yeah,
is the man.
yeah. There's Jim. That's his name. But for some
he's
reason,
the
it got
gym
more brutal when it turned into 2D animation, and that like stuck in my mind
He's
forever.
the campus supervisor, health teacher, and martial arts instructor.
Well, yeah, he also is you know, in all kids shows, there's the person that is on to the kids, but no one believes them.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, of course, they're doing something
Very
wrong.
good parents.
Yeah, exactly. It's the gosh dang teacher. It's the
Bro,
principal
this man's
from
jawline
Lab Rats.
could like cut a mountain.
This guy was onto him, but for once he was the hero, because he got fired from his job after, and then he found the actual thing that they did, and it was sweet.
Did he play trombone?
Yes, he did play trombone.
Okay, that makes more sense because I'm just looking at a picture of him like holding a trombone like you would like a pair of nunchucks, and I still thought that he just like murdered some kids with a trombone.
Jim is the best character in the show, and I will stand by this.
Oh, and here's the live action Jim. Wow, they look remarkably similar.
They did a good job with the casting. I'm just saying. But yeah.
Why did our show turn into talking about Code Lyoko?
Because it's a superior show.
No, it's not. Aaron.
You can try to hide your love,
I've never even seen it.
but you can feel it.
You can feel it.
You can sense it in the core of your being.
This reminds me of you
gosh.
explaining JoJo's to me. Like the amount
That's
of passion
most of
you
the
have.
shows that I watch are like that, where it's like I need to
Trash.
very in depth explain the fact that the show is bad, but I watch it anyway, and an explanation for why I do.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man.
What do we do now?
I mean, I was searching through my gosh dang watch list for a show that I watched a long time ago.
You guys ever watched? There was a show. It was kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon combined, except instead of there being like monsters or anything like that, they were dinosaurs that you could summon, kind of like Pokemon, and they came in cards, and you'd use them to battle. No, it wasn't like it was similar to Bakugan, and like Digimon and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh, because all those shows are basically the same
Dinosaur
thing.
King?
Is that what it's called? That might be right.
I don't know. It's
I don't know. I didn't
True
watch
Sora
those
is just
kinds
in
of
there.
shows.
like
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It is. It's Dinosaur King. Oh my gosh. I should go back and watch this. Who said that? Who are you?
I didn't like dinosaurs.
True
Sora. You're my best friend now.
So, an interesting one of my favorite things that for some reason exists. It's like, you know, when you're a kid and there's like one thing that makes up your identity.
Yeah.
And it's weird that those things exist, and it can be just like the dumbest thing. Like for some kids, it's like bulldozers.
Yeah. For my brother-in-law, it's tractors.
Like horses. Like just insert a single noun, and suddenly that is who you are as a kid.
Bionicles.
Books? I don't know. I didn't do anything when I was a kid. The thing that made up my personality was the desire to be better than anyone else around me. From like I was a bully when I was a kid. I was not a good kid.
Aaron, you should have been raised in China.
What?
What does that mean?
Actually, don't elaborate. I'm just gonna say that now. We're just gonna skip past that.
No. Everybody knows what I mean.
So fast, I will kick you out of this party.
Oh my gosh! Just slam my shin.
I have it's you can see it on screen. It's right over the mute button. I'm ready.
Oh
yeah. Yeah. I'm prepared. Sweating. We still need another 30 minutes, DJ. Don't get us kicked off the air yet.
I'm not saying anything that's bad.
Yet. Anyway. Oh man. But yeah, I don't know. I just think this is a weird phenomenon.
Your desire to be better than everybody?
No, just like kids having a single thing that makes up who they are, and it's like some random noun.
Mine was dolls.
Yeah, right?
I had so many Barbies in Monster High.
Monster High. Interesting.
I didn't really...
Monster High.
I never really
I really wanted Bratz
dolls,
dolls, but my mom thought that they would be a bad influence, so I wasn't allowed to have
the
Bratz.
Bratz were Bratz.
Compared to have you seen I work at a retail store, and like specifically near the toy section. Dolls have gotten so much worse. I'm sitting here, I'm like, these would, when I was a kid, these would not have been able to make it on the shelves. The like middle-aged moms would have rioted. Like, how dare? But yeah. I don't know. I wonder if it's
Castles. That's a good one.
I wonder if it is like a specific, like when you're a kid you get a specific toy, or like you find something and you just happen to enjoy it. And now you're like, this is it. This is who I am.
Well, I think it also probably has to do with the parents, where like they notice that their kid enjoys this certain toy, so they get them more of them because
then,
that just helps keep them like sane.
Yeah.
Well, and with me, like it's probably the main reason why I like D&D is because of how much I played dolls and things like that. Was I loved playing pretend.
Yeah.
We all do.
And I loved the soap operas.
Oh yeah, soap operas. I do think
so
that
much
my
tea
thing
going on in my
was
Barbie
actually
dream
probably
house.
books. It's just whatever series I happened to be reading at the time. That was like what made up my identity as a person, which is still kind of the case. It's just my selection is narrowed.
You want to know something hilarious? And by hilarious, I mean it's really funny to me, but you guys are probably gonna be like, "Oh, okay." I used to love the Junie B. Jones books.
Oh yeah.
Junie B. Jones is great.
I would read them out loud.
That's a good
But
thing.
I was reading them in like first grade, and my first grade teacher was like, "This is an exclamation point. Exclamation point means you exclaim it. You say it loud." So I would be sitting in my room at like 9 o'clock at night. My sister is trying to go to sleep in the room right next to me, and it would get to some exclamation point in Junie B. Jones, and I would just scream the line. My sister complained to my mom about me all the time, but that's my Junie B. Jones story that I thought was hilarious and knew you guys would be like, oh, okay.
No, that's a very... So that's the thing. Reading books out loud is actually a very good formative exercise. For,
It's
like,
really good.
people in general. Like, it's very good for you. I just ruined my eyes because I didn't do that, and I just read out loud for, like, hours at a time. Like, there were times where I would get off of school, and then I would read until, like, obviously I was young enough at that time, I had a bedtime, but I would, like, read in the bedtime, and then I would just bring the book with me and read until, like, 4 hours before school. At which...
This is why
a lot of
Aaron's
people-
sleep schedule is horrible.
Yeah, it started early. Hold on. Delete. Oh, man. 2 at once?
There's 2 of them. Get rid of
Too
that.
fast.
We're popular.
Oh man, the bots are out in force tonight. How funny would it be if there was just one person who was like, I'm not a bot. That's just I don't know how else to enter into a conversation.
That's all I know.
But yeah, all of my optometrists were like, you need to not read as much. Because it's ruining your eyes. And I was like, you can't stop me, I'll be fine. Now I can't see. So I think that's a very strong plot development. Good awkward silence, where now we have
That's
to
all
think
I
of
got.
another thing. I should say that I was not actually a fantasy person. I was, to start off with, the first fantasy series I ever read was the Sword of Shannara, the Shannara series. Still excellent books. I recommend them. The first one is literally just Lord of the Rings, but once you get towards the last 3/4 of the books, you're like, oh, this isn't as much as J.R.R. Tolkien's ripoff as it was. And then every book after that is completely different. And it turns into like a post-apocalyptic, like fantasy, like sci-fi hodgepodge. It's really cool. But like in terms of like video games and like digital media, I like didn't do any of that until Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess on the Wii. That game, that like changed my life. Not like no joke.
Oh yeah?
It absolutely did. Like I rented it from a library. Because that's what I did at
That's
that
back in
era
the
of
day. That's
time.
old school.
And I played it, and I finished. Like I got halfway through, and then it was time to return the game. And I literally went every single day to the library until they were eventually allowed me to rent it again. Because you can't like turn it in and then check it back out. You have to like a set amount of time to let other people do it. And so I did every single day until I could eventually check it out again, and then finished it. And then that's like all I wanted to do was like Legend of Zelda stuff. I suppose like at that point in time, Legend of Zelda was like the thing that was who I was. I had a hoodie. I'm sure you remember the hoodie.
I mean, you have, yes, I do remember the hoodie, and you're literally sitting in front of a Legend of Zelda poster.
Shh. Hush now. There's another one over there.
Yes, I know.
I had the like, I can't remember the name of it, but the like, oh, it's the Hyrule Historia, that like it's like a fat book of like, it's just a bunch of random information about all of the Legend of Zelda games. I tried to collect all the games. I tried to play all of them. That's like what I did. Still love them, and sometimes I'll just buy a Legend of Zelda thing, even though I know that I don't know when I'm ever going to be able to use it, just because I like the series so much. It's a serious problem. I literally bought a $60 game that I haven't opened because of nostalgia, and I don't know if I'll ever get the chance to play it.
Hey man, hold on to that for another 25 years. It'd be great.
And it's the least liked game in the franchise, so it's probably not going to be that.
No. Because that's how you know it's going to come back.
No, because it's a remake. So it already did come back, and people still don't like it. Even though it's maybe my favorite game in the series. Which is just another, Aaron likes things that suck existence.
Maybe that's Aaron's thing. It's always been Aaron likes things that suck.
I love things that are bad. I think that it's so much fun.
Aaron's a sucker for a good bad thing.
You have no idea the amount of isekai that I've watched. There's no good ones. They don't exist. They're not real. And I've watched like 30. I've watched gosh dang, Sword Art Online over 22 times.
Okay. All right. Okay.
22 times.
SAO is not that bad. Hot take. Also, Lydia, you can't be yawning. Get out of here with your tiredness. Table scraps.
Sorry, my bad.
Anyway.
But yeah.
SAO, not that bad. It's not that bad. I've only watched like half of it, so
no, you see,
maybe
that's
it gets
the thing.
worse,
The first half of this first season is like pretty good.
Yeah.
That's the problem is after you get past that point, it's a sheep. It's a stark drop, and then you hit season like 4, maybe season 3. I can't remember. I think it's season 4. Season 4 it's pretty good because it doesn't include the parts that suck, and then it's another steep drop. And then you hit Alicization, and it's a little bit up. And then we're not even going to talk about the movies or games. They're not going to get there.
Yeah.
And then it goes further down.
I love the fact that someone was just like, yo, you need to be isekai'd into a world where everything that you like is actually good.
See, that's the thing. All the things that I like are good to me.
Then you'd have some people that like you can talk to about them and relate to them.
Yeah.
You know? Like they'd enjoy it with you.
Yeah, and instead of me being like, no, guys, hold on, don't go, hear me out. It's
they
weird.
Would be like, wait, no,
so
but then there's this part, and then you'd be like, yo! Yeah, that's what happened.
Absolutely. So, see, Desmar knows what I'm talking about. Sword Art Online, okay, drops off towards the end. Elfheim, real bad. Gun Game Online, okay, that's pretty alright. Gosh dang, Excalibur, we dropped real far again. Mother's Rosario, season 4 or 5 or whatever, really great. And then it just drops back
in the SAO world, or are these different?
Oh no, it all follows the same thing. The reason that Mother's Rosario is so good is because the main character of all of the other things is basically non-existent in that season. He just shows up as a plot convenience twice, and those are like, oh wow, that's some really cool animation, but also kind of the worst part of the show.
Fair enough. Like Twilight.
Yeah.
Except it's all bad.
Not at all.
Yeah. I was thinking, who was I just talking to? I was talking to a friend of mine who had never seen Twilight, and so I broke down the whole plot line of it, so she never had to watch it. I just broke down the whole thing,
Spider Monkey,
so that she knew what was happening. But I messed up my reference because I was just talking about how the animation in the last Twilight movie where they're fighting the Volturi is horrible. It's absolutely terrible, the CGI. And then the whole thing is terrible too. So
okay. Twilight spoiler alert. But on TikTok,
we need to Twilight spoiler alert for something that came out a decade ago.
Lionsgate posted a TikTok that's like it's the one PSI song
Oh, you already lost me. It's past 2007 music.
The Gangnam Style.
Oh, gotcha.
It starts with like Carlisle getting ready to go and fight the Volturi, and it's like the Volturi don't stand a chance against Carlisle, and then when it goes it like transitions to like this like edit of Carlisle's head in the Volturi's hands, just like cycling through. It's the funniest thing that Lionsgate has ever. It's Lionsgate. Lionsgate posted this TikTok.
That is true. The fact that it comes from the production studio.
From the production studio. Well, everybody that was involved with Twilight knows that it was bad. Everybody.
Oh
I don't know. Robert Patterson,
also,
I feel like it's still a little bit of a stan.
No. Robert Patterson hates Twilight. He goes on record and talks about how bad it is. But speaking of Robert Pattinson, I just watched the Batman movie, and I didn't know a Batman movie could be so beautiful.
I have heard that it's been rated pretty highly
really
in
good.
the.
Yeah, both critics and audience have kind of been raving about it. I really want to go back and get a couple screenshots of it, and then just post to Twitter 4 screenshots of the movie and be like, "Why is Batman so beautiful?" Because they're literally the cinematography and the soundtrack is so good. I was talking to Drew about it, and I was talking to him about how it doesn't feel like a superhero movie. It feels like a movie going for an Academy Award. It feels like something that's going for the artistry of it and not for the superhero money, basically. Does that make sense? Yeah, so, it's extremely beautiful. It makes sense as to why the DCEU is not involved with the Batman.
Yeah.
Because if you put the Batman in the DCEU, it's like putting Leonardo da Vinci next to Teen Titans Go.
Fair.
Yeah.
As a confession, I have never watched any of the Twilight movies. I have watched roughly 3 minutes of the last movie.
The worst part of the whole series.
Absolutely. And the entire reason that I have not, because I've had the option to. It's been a thing of I have the ability to. I haven't watched them specifically because I think that I'll enjoy them.
Oh yeah, I enjoy them too. I think it's terrible. A good story in general. It's just so bad.
I don't even think that.
Are no match for Carlisle Cullen. And then, hold on, I'll pause it when it gets to the edit.
I'm very concerned for you, Lydia.
I love Lydia's cackling.
But I'm
and
sitting
then
here.
it just goes into an edit of his head.
I have no. Lydia, what you should do is you should just send it to us.
Some person's like, seriously, who's running this account?
I am so glad.
I'm gonna add it to the Discord, but that's why I was finding it.
Social media accounts for corporations have turned into just meme lords. I think that it is one of the biggest improvements to the society that has happened in the past 10 years. But I feel like I would enjoy the Twilight movies for a lot of different reasons. Mainly because I can watch them as a comedy. The amount of times that I love any show that has a lot of dramatic stare into distance moments or stare at another person moments where it's just a person standing glowering at some random location in front of them. I think that it's hilarious. It's awesome. It's one of the reasons that I love David Tennant, because being able to stare stoically into the distance is a skill, and David Tennant has honed his to an extent that is beyond any reasonable doubt. There is no one who does a dramatic stare better than David Tennant. And so I think that I would actually enjoy the Twilight movies, not for any of the plot.
The real question,
Aaron, legitimately bad.
Actually, this is a question for Lydia.
Oh.
Do we think Aaron would be Team Edward or Team Jacob?
Wait, who?
Real question.
I already know the answer.
I know who I am.
I know who I am, and there's only one right answer, so...
Oh, no.
Team Edward.
You're Team Edward? Oh.
Yeah.
Bro, here's the thing. So Edward spends his entire time, that from the moment he meets Bella, to the moment that they decide to spend the rest of their lives together, doing everything in his power to not hurt Bella.
I mean, don't get me wrong, he really sucked at doing it sometimes.
Oh yeah, he's not great at it, but that was his intention the entire time. At no point did he ever have a selfish motive in his body. Jacob, on the other hand, he just wants to be with her the whole time. That's all he wants.
Jacob is the person that complains about the friend zone.
Yeah.
So, here's my stance. I don't know any of the movies. I haven't seen any of it. I don't know anything.
I love that you have a
all I
stance.
have are snapshots that I've seen of the movies, and there are way more snapshots of Jacob standing shirtless, glowering in the distance, which by far, in my opinion, makes him a better character.
One of my favorite scenes that got memed on when Twilight was getting popular again on TikTok was there's this one scene where Jacob's talking to Bella, and he's like, he goes, "Look at all these people, Bella. Me, Charlie."
I know what you speak of. Yeah, no, I don't even really know the plot of the movies. I
so want to break it down for you.
I have seen some of the first movie, specifically just clips of Edward doing random things. So, like, there's the one where he, like, stops the car, and then there's the climb on Spider Monkey scene. I've seen those.
Team Alice.
Spider Monkey.
That's fair.
But other than that, no. I refuse to watch them because I think that I will actually enjoy them. And I want to be with the people who avidly hate them more than I want to be with the people who hate them.
There's another TikTok, and it's of this girl who showed her dad Twilight. And it's him shuffling around. It's her dad shuffling around the room being like, do you know what I am? I'm a monster. You can't resist me. And he's like imitating Edward, the dramatic like monologue Edward has. Oh my gosh. Twilight TikToks are the best.
So True Sora, I would play in a Twilight campaign in a heartbeat. I would love to play. I would love a campaign, like a long-term campaign, where we just rag on, like, the Twilight movies, where it's like we're just playing like vampires and werewolves, and it's like, Daryl, you have no idea what you're getting into. You don't know. Like, just like, but you never actually get to the point of the conversation. Like, you just say how they don't know what's happening. No, that's the thing. Everyone has a minimum 20 charisma modifier.
That's the only thing they have.
The beauty of a charisma modifier is that you can say the dumbest things in the world, but you're really hot. And so that's the Twilight movies in a nutshell. It doesn't need to make sense. You have two shirtless ripped guys, sometimes more than that, and relatively attractive women that are incredibly stoic in the form of Bella.
And it's not even that
who doesn't make a motion with her face.
And it's not even that the story doesn't make sense. It's just a little weird. Like, everything that happens makes sense. It's just weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lydia doesn't agree with me, but
no, you're right. I was going to like add, but I didn't have anything to add.
I do want to refresh my memory. Isn't Twilight a fan fiction of something else?
No. 50 Shades of Grey is a fanfic of Twilight.
I could have sworn that 50 Shades of Grey came out before that.
I don't know.
I know that one of the. I mean, I believe.
Let me look it up.
There is. It's one way or the other. But what it was whoever wrote one of them originally. I think they wanted to like put themselves in the world.
That was. Is her name Stephanie?
I don't know either of the authors.
I was the one who did Twilight was the one that did the self-insert thing that like even weirded out like Robert Pattinson. Like he was like, this is weird.
This is weird, but I'm getting paid lots of money.
Money is a wonderful motivator.
50 Shades of Grey started out as a Twilight fan fiction.
That's so weird to me because in my mind 50 Shades of Grey came out way before Twilight, which isn't the case obviously, but that's just how my brain works. I mean, so that's the thing. Every character in the Twilight movies in my mind thinks that they're
the Edward of the campaign.
Every single one is just like, I can stand on the top of this cliff or in this forest while the wind touses my hair more dramatically than everyone else.
It'd be that the whole time. Every character would be like, the DM would be like, so what are you doing? And everyone's like, I'm standing dramatically on the cliff.
I'm brooding.
Shirt off, skin glistening in the sunlight. And everyone's be like, I'm tall in the tree as the wind billows through my long, dark, luscious hair.
Exactly. So the thing is, there wouldn't actually be combat. It would just be who can brood harder.
Who can brood harder.
Yeah, who can just be
my gosh, combat would just be like contesting brooding checks.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be entirely charisma based.
That's so funny.
But yeah. That's a turn. That is a turn, Desmar. Like,
so I'm looking at Twilight memes now. And there's one, and it's the scene where it's like the first movie when all the Cullens walk in, and Bella looks over, and Edward's walking in, and she's like, "Who is he?" And it cuts to the other side of the cafeteria, but instead of it being Robert Pattinson as Edward, it's that image of Robert Pattinson in the tracksuit.
You see, this is how you know that my knowledge of Twilight is founded on memes. It's because I understood that.
Hold on.
I understood that reference.
Oh, man. I am so sorry for all of you who come to Table Scraps expecting us to talk about Dungeons & Dragons.
Who's he?
Is Robert Pattinson the is it no who's the one who just has the image of him standing outside of his house like smoking a cigarette?
Ben Affleck.
That is okay. I'm like, I knew that it was a Batman.
Yeah.
But I can't remember which one.
It's the bad Batman.
Image. I love it so much.
I'm gonna think that Ben Affleck playing Batman is what caused that image.
Yes.
He was contemplating his role as Batman.
So there's this so I'm subscribed to Smosh's YouTube channels, things like that, and they just did one where it was Batman bingo, and they're all different Batmans from the Batman movies.
My personal favorite Smosh bit is they do a Spider-Man one of like
shoots and ladders,
or something like that, and Shane is just the reporter. I want pictures of Spider-Man. But then halfway
Joe
through,
Jameson.
He'll also switch to the band to the gosh dang conductor of Whiplash because they're played by the same actor.
In the Batman one, they're all the big dark brooding this talking Batman. But then there's Damien who is doing Adam West's Batman.
Oh come on! The classic bat nipple Batman, the strongest of any Batman.
It's true.
They provide extra gosh dang aerodynamic efficiency when
they're also a
swimming
weapon.
and
You just
flying.
kind of like
exactly. You like someone tries to chest bump you off of an area, dead.
Yeah, that no, it's bad.
In my opinion, maybe the strongest Batman just out of plot convenience. Like him against any other Batman, they roll up and they're like, "I have this high-tech vehicle," and he's like, "I have an anti-high-tech vehicle spray conveniently stashed within my pants." Ha ha! And then it just works, and they're like, "It doesn't make any sense," and he's like, "It doesn't need to."
I am the protagonist. Yeah.
I would love a live-action Batman Beyond. You are saying things that are true.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever watch Batman Beyond?
I watched a little bit of it. I think it's super far into it.
I love shows that are like unreal, like brutal when you really don't expect them to be.
Is this the one where he kills Jason Todd?
I mean,
there
are a lot of things happen in Batman Beyond.
I can't remember if that was Batman Beyond.
Batman Beyond is the one. If I'm thinking of the right one, that is the one where it's like the next generation Batman and like Bruce Wayne is old. And it has
he's got like slick
really
gray hair.
Cool like bat suit. But there was oh man, there's the scene. There's a lot of
and it's like he's like a little bit like slimmer, and he's got like the red.
Yeah, because it's the new Batman suit because Bruce Wayne doesn't do that anymore. But some kid like breaks into his house and finds out that he's Batman. It's a weird plot.
I also love the mask because the mask covers his entire face and just makes it
so cool. Like just the artistry of that show. I'm a big animation fan. I love animation. I think it's like one of the coolest art forms in existence. And especially like classic animation, the things that they would do with like individual cells and stuff like that, really incredible. And the art of Batman Beyond is fantastic. Yeah, I would love a like dystopian Batman where it's Batman Beyond live action. Tasty. So anyway, we have deviated. Also, I should say, normally we talk about D&D a lot longer, but we haven't had a session of D&D this past week because we instead did a thing. What?
I don't know if it ever actually happened, but if you look up Batman Beyond live action, first thing that pops up, there's a couple of sick posters, and it says Batman Beyond is a live-action television series produced by Warner Bros. Television and aired on HBO beginning in 2014.
I don't want to know.
I don't know if it's real or if it ever actually happened or what, but just it's there.
I just want a good movie of it. That's all I care about. I don't. I'm not even a huge Batman guy, but for a Batman Beyond movie, I'm there.
Yeah.
But so normally, Table Scraps does actually involve more Dungeons and Dragons, but since we didn't have a session this past Monday, we kind of just had to go off the rails and talk about whatever it is that we did talk about today.
Yeah.
But in the future, most likely we will be actually talking about Dungeons and Dragons more. So if you tuned in for this and went, what is happening? Mind you, that will occur. Normally, once we get to around the last 45 minutes to 30 minutes of the show,
gone.
we're gone. We run out of things
gone.
to talk about. You can only talk about Dungeons and Dragons for so long. So this is both very common and very uncommon.
It's an extreme version of what is common.
Yes, very much so. So we've been live for an hour and 57 minutes, and none of it
And
has
11 seconds.
had anything to do with Gosh Dang Dungeons and Dragons. Except for the first part. We made it a little bit. But I have some official plugs that I need to do. Get on that, Lydia.
Ready?
We have social medias. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. We've mentioned them a little bit. They're very funny, very good. You should do that. We also have a website where you can read really bad blog posts that I don't recommend because they weren't very well written. And also a merch store where we sell merch where you can get stuff with our logo and stuff on it and some other cool things and stuff. I also recommend that you check out our YouTube because you can catch up on stuff. If you want to catch up on the main campaign, but you don't want to go through 61 episodes of content, start at episode 50. It has a pretty good recap of what's all going on. Real good place if you just want to jump in. Also check out our YouTube shorts. They've been picking up traction and they're really good. If you want to support us, you can follow. That's really easy. It's really free. You can also subscribe. Throw those Twitch primes our way. Join the cult. But if you want to support us specifically monetarily, we also have a Patreon and a Ko-Fi. Our Patreon has recently been revised. It's a lot more sleek. It's a lot slimmer. It's a lot more direct. $5. It's our one tier, and then we do stuff. Let's see. Ko-Fi, Patreon. Most important to me. Join our Discord. You can give me book recommendations, and I can, or if you want book recommendations, I can give them to you. We have a lot of people on there, and it's really cool. And I think that it's really awesome that you guys are able to talk to us. I almost joined in the like just chatting Discord voice thing, but it was like really late, and I was really tired, and I didn't. I was sad. But it would be great to have you on there. It's a really cool place. And we do fun things, and you can talk with us and ask us questions, and we can ask you questions about what the crap we're supposed to do on Table Scraps. Because we don't know. So be there. Be square. I'm pretty sure that's all of them. Lydia doesn't have any more things for me. So, I guess the only thing I have left to say is good luck and Godspeed. And we will see you all next time, Dungeoneers.
Bye.
So long, friends. Bye.